So Jim, you can see the spreadsheet?
Yes, I can.
Oh, excellent. So, as we're saying on the regional Volk, it looks like we're gonna get a little bit of a break here. So I'm plugging in 2.6 million for now. There's supposed to be a vote, tomorrow night. And we may get a real number tomorrow at some point or the next day,
I'd say
Friday.
Friday at the
on
latest.
Friday. So
Jay may let us know tomorrow night. If he does, we'll
He
send-
said he would, yeah.
so we may have a firm number, but for now, we think 2.6 is probably a pretty good number for the Volk.
Right.
Right.
And the reason for that is, Jim, I don't, you heard, but so the Division of Local Services, they certified the excess and deficiency at the vocational school. By statute, they cannot have a balance of more than 5% of their operating account. So they're, which is interesting, and I think if they just don't want all the communities to get sucked in, right? In it,
Yeah.
it makes some sense when I thought about it. So they have $3.5 million that they need to send back to the communities, so to speak. And I think the way they're gonna do it is reduce the assessment for next year on the bond for the new school. I think that'll be around 250 grand less for us.
So that's what I did. I took what they had before and just plugged in negative 250. We'll see what we actually get.
Very good.
Let's see, on articles, I had some articles that are now being pulled from free cash rather than for fiscal year 26. So my articles went down and there's a couple more eminent domains proceedings that, so it's $3 instead of $1.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo!
Wow.
Is it a total of 3 or is it a total of 4? I
It's a
forget.
total of 3.
Total of 3. I know there's 2 more I'm adding. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's 3 all. I think there's 3.
Let's read all in. I made some adjustment on the healthcare, make sure that was matching up to what Kevin had. I think all these numbers stayed the same. Oh, Council on Aging. We got some new numbers on Council of Aging, so that changed a little bit. Protection, I don't think anything changed there.
No, nothing did.
General government, we will now have the selectmen's budget.
Yeah.
I didn't have that one number before, so that's a big increase of 700,000 on personal services versus 541. And other expenses had a modest increase. I think that was the only,
Medicare.
Medicare, that's right. Medicare, we have a new number on Medicare here. So the Medicare number, I had something less than that. I had less than $1 million, but it's $1,087,000. So we have a final number on Medicare.
On data processing or IT,
IT?
Yeah.
We'll go back to IT. Yeah,
what do you have there?
I got 403 and 349, a total of 753.
And accounting, 376.
And accounting
Yeah.
is,
Next one up.
yep, above that. Accounting, 376 and a 112.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So Kevin and I match on all the totals for departments, total coming in at where'd it go? 129,570. And we got 5.3 million in transfers, available funds and so forth. Kevin and I differ by $5,000 on the debt service, but I'm including it because he did in the recap. So a tax levy, we need 124. We match up everywhere on this except for local receipts. Kevin's got 8,000,007.
750.
Yeah, 8,750,000, and I got 10,000,002. So there's a $2 million difference there. And I've just got a formula for new construction. The formula plus 300 grand. Kevin's got 1.5 million. So it's a difference of 56,000, but it's like, well, we really don't know. And our assessor's not divulging any numbers to us.
Well,
Why is he not divulging?
No, that's 1,500,000 is his number. We went through last year what we thought because of delays in construction, what was gonna happen, and he was around 1.4. I think that was his number, 1,444, so.
He's
Take
got
the
what's
other
on,
stuff.
in the ground on June 30th.
Yeah,
So leave it at 1,444.
I think that's a good number, yeah.
That's a good number.
I think I'm hoping it's low, but
Yeah, we all
always do.
we all hope that, yeah. The other thing that's new is this guy, 1276 is, two items. $500,000 from our overlay account,
Yeah,
and then 775,902 from back taxes, basically.
yeah.
That was unexpected, so I threw it into other income of 1.3 million. So that turns us into a deficit of $2.1 million. And Kevin's got 4.6, I think, so close to that.
Well, it would be 4.6 less than 250,000, so about 4.4.
Right.
4.4,
5.
yeah,
And that's directly the difference between Dan's receipts and our receipts.
pretty much. And the 56,000. Oh, and capital. We should talk a second about capital. So on capital, what I did was use the 2152 that the capital committee originally had, and I subtracted the 125,000. The school said they're picking up, was it radios?
Yeah, radios.
It's radios.
Paying for transit, radios, walkie-talkies.
Two-way
I'm gonna call them.
radios, emergency
Makes more
radios.
sense. Paying that out of the revolving
Right.
fund for the academy. Capital planning promptly met back and added the 125 back.
I was just gonna say, so what did they add?
They added in a playground at the Dolbear School.
Aha,
They just do one at the Dolbear School?
I thought they did too.
Yeah, that thing.
all right, so we're back to
Back to that,
that.
in their minds.
Yeah, okay, so, all right, so that changes things a little bit. So our income increases 1.7%. And our expenses are much higher than that. So I'm showing a deficit of 2.2 million, and Kevin's roughly 4.5, depending upon local receipts. And if you look at our free cash, we finished 25 at roughly 8.6. Steve thinks it's going to be higher than that. I'm not sure if Kevin agrees with us higher than that, but
I do. I think it's probably gonna be another $1 million. I think it's gonna be close to 10.
and they still haven't given me a solid reason as why it's going to be close to 10. I'm
well,
looking
that-
for a reason.
Is that change that money returned, right, typically?
Yeah, the $1 million is what we expect to come back from our budgets.
And the team at the table there is saying 2 million.
Well, actually, they're saying 3. Well, 2.4, I
Yeah,
guess.
and I think it's a combination of the returns, but I also think that receipts are gonna be even more than,
Yeah.
will be a little bit more than Dan is projecting.
Wow. Yeah,
Plug it in,
so-
Dan.
yeah, I
But
mean,
no, but yeah.
Where do you think the big increases are gonna be in receipts? I'm just,
Investment income.
yeah, that's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say, because I'm seeing flatline mine in some of those. I was surprised.
And, I think at least we've been conservative. And where rates have basically gone from,
Yeah,
0.5% to 5%,
Yeah.
it's a
they're gonna hold.
big,
I mean, that's huge. We had investment income estimated at 800,000. Kevin did. And we're already through the first 3 quarters at like 1.5.
Yeah, I'm sure you didn't make this mistake, but any interest on ARPA goes to the general fund, not,
Yes, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I know some places made that mistake, yeah.
So,
I think it's mainly this money for the schools.
so if I bump
Sits for a while.
local receipts, so I'm just using prior years plus, which is of course also an estimate. So I'm saying fiscal year 26 is almost virtually the same as fiscal year 24.
Yeah.
So what you're telling me is that's going to be more like
I think
11.5?
More money.
11.5, okay.
But
But you know what? That interest income's not gonna be there again. Maybe for one more year, right?
So what do you think? It's
I
going
think it's gonna be 11.5 for 26, 25.
25, not
to 25. I'm on the wrong year. And then for 26, it's going to be
Oh.
less than that?
We probably won't have the big interest income. I don't know about building. I think excise tax will go up because,
If we're in a recession, it's going to happen?
well, I think excise tax will go up because we're gonna have more units,
vehicles.
more vehicles in town.
Yeah, the motor vehicle excise has been,
Head of the lake is gonna start being occupied,
yeah.
so that's gonna bring in vehicles.
So you think we'll flatline it from 25 to 26? Is that
I would.
reasonable?
I probably would.
I would flatline it, yeah.
Okay. All right, well, that helps. Now we only have a deficit of 1,700,000
In 26, yeah.
and it gets worse. And then for free cash and our reserve, at the end of 25, we're looking at around 10.8, and then the end of 26, we're below 10%. And then we go negative. If free cash goes negative in 30,
32.
right here.
So when you look at 25's return, you just adjusted for the income, but isn't the return going to be higher than the million?
I don't know.
No, because we've, snow and ice, I think we're basically gonna just, return zero on
Yeah.
that,
If it snows again, it's gonna melt on its own.
Exactly.
you know, we've squeezed group insurance, that was the
Yeah.
biggest, driver in the returns
Past.
Yeah.
in the past.
So I'm sorry,
But this
where was the
year,
investment
25?
change?
It was on our local receipts.
Local receipts, Jim.
Okay,
Mm.
so the 3.4 and the 4 million from previous years is all returns, including health insurance?
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, health insurance was $1 million on its own or more some of those
More,
years.
yes, it was more than 1,000,000.
Yeah.
It was 1,400,000, if I
Yeah.
remember right.
Yeah.
And
So,
snow
Dan,
and
when you
ice was
look
really
out-
good.
When you look out forward, isn't it more realistic to be higher than 500 on returns going forward, just for
Well,
forecasting?
we're thinking that health insurance is going to drop, the budget and the actuals are going to be close to equal going out. So that's why we only got 500,000.
Yeah, and the budgets aren't growing much.
Remember, the GIC raised their rates for 26, like 13%.
No, understood, yep. It just, so you're saying the 500 is only returns from departments then?
Yeah.
Not overlay, nothing, it was all that
Yeah.
money?
Above in the spring TM column. You see
Mhm.
that?
Mm-hmm.
That's what generated the 2,276,000 was the tax title, tax liens and overlay and
That was just so.
those two, yeah.
And then for 26, we show the negative, that's correct?
I don't know why we should,
Yeah. Because we're short on the budget.
right.
So this
Oh,
million
that's the
670,
deficit coverage.
that's that's to cover the deficit. Because for the 26, we need, where's the shortfall?
Mhm.
48.
Right here,
And 6.
right there.
Which you should maybe show that in November. was when it will, I mean, either way, it doesn't matter, but that's when it will happen.
Yeah, that's
It's confusing, yeah.
Right, that we would have to use free cash to balance the budget for that.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is what's really scary to me is that it just gets, bigger.
Right. And why is the revenue so low? The change?
Oh, because what I do in the spreadsheet is I bring in the free cash to balance, so it looks
Right.
bigger. But if I make that a 0, so now you can see it 6.8 and then becomes 2.3.
Right.
So our revenue is only going up 2 point. When I do my, dog and pony show, I'll just say our revenue goes up 2.3%.
So I do think that, I'm hopeful that state aid for fiscal year 26 will be a little bit more than the 14,121. I don't think it's gonna move the needle. It might be a couple $100,000 more. I was told that, a representative not from Wakefield area said, tell more money mayor we're working on his problem at the State House superintendent.
There you go.
But that's okay. But I don't think that that's going to be a huge movement because I think the state is worried about clawbacks and things not being funded. I think the school department is worried as well. They have that $1 million IDEA grant that I know they're working on. What happens if that goes away?
Yeah, they're at 1.9 million is what they've budgeted for federal grants.
So there's a lot of moving parts on that. But do you want to go over what Kevin and I have been talking about? Or
Sure.
not? Or not? If you're done with this,
I mean, I'll listen to anything at this point. I mean, we're in deep doo-doo as far as I can tell.
So I would advocate for, and we've done this in the past, and I know that it's somewhat controversial. I would advocate for a couple of things. Number one is I think we should look towards perhaps bifurcating or moving off capital until the fall when the financial picture is a little bit clearer. We'll know the state aid by then. I know that's not going to be popular with a lot of people, but okay.
Not the full amount. In amount, not the full amount.
Yeah.
You said bifurcate.
Bifurcate, yeah, right. And I actually identified in my mind about $860,000 that could be waited on. Get one cruiser, not two, stuff like that. So I looked through that. I also, early in my career, presented a trash fee. Dan is laughing, maybe Dan remembers. I got 0 support from any board in town. 0 being 0. Probably 7 on school committee, no, 6 on town council, 15, 28 to 1. But I would bring that back as potential to look at in the fall.
The good news though is trash contracts not going up.
Yes, the good news is that because of efforts we've made in really in recycling and in getting the composting out, our tonnage has gone down, and that's made a big difference. But it's still a $2 million nut in our budget. I would point out that there's about 8,500 households that get a trash fee, that get trash service. If you were to charge each home $250 a year, that's about $2 million. That would resolve a lot of things. Just throw that out there as a area we could look at.
Is that town meeting?
I have to talk to Tom Mullen. I think it's a town council vote, but it may be a town meeting vote. He tends to like to go to town meeting. But I also think we should look at all fees. I think we should look at all building permit fees and things like that. We haven't looked at them in 10 years.
It's been more recent than that, wasn't it?
No, I think it was 10 years ago
Was it?
from when I looked.
Well, you want to cap the building permit, especially with the development going on.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, if an electrical permit is $25, you're still going to do it if it's 40 or 50. I think it's things to look at in there. You combine all those things and you move that line way down the road.
Well, yeah, but the capital though, you gotta make that up.
It's a delay. It's always a delay. We're always gonna have capital. The other thing I would do is that we're doing a lot of capital in short term in bonding, not necessarily, the schools and the things that are outside of 2.5, but if we do a fire truck by bonding, and that is 1.3 million, let's say we bond that over 15 years. Let's say it's $100,000 a year for the fire truck. It would be very simple. Maybe that fire truck, that $100,000 should be part of our $2 million worth of capital expenditure for that year.
Yeah.
I think that's something to consider,
Yeah.
is putting those bonds in there for those areas. We've had a great run not doing it. I think we're much better off. A lot of our communities have not, our fellow communities don't even really have this capital embedded in their budget. I also think, well, I'm on a roll, Dan, I'm gonna keep going. I think we should think about starting at some point, a capital stabilization fund so that there's money in there to help out, smooth out those areas.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, the stabilization,
It's a reserve fund.
Reserve too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
the stabilization for the school's sped is down to 200,000.
It's like 400, right?
Or was it 400?
400 is, 300? 300 is.
300.
We haven't touched it in many years.
No, we haven't touched it.
But I think a big bugaboo is state receipts. And I will tell you, and I've said it before, if we got the same per pupil as our surrounding communities, that number would be $1.5 million higher. And there'd be no issue at all.
Mm-hmm.
So what can you do? All right, I'm done. And also looking at all budgets. I mean, it's I'm really very sad about what's going on in Stoneham. I frankly think I would not take the approach that they seem to be taking right now. Their approaches right now, because their override failed, is the first things they're looking at is closing the library and closing the senior center. I just think that it's very hard to bring those programs back. They are looking at a huge deficit too.
Feels short-sighted.
Yeah.
So it did fail, Steve? I was curious.
Yeah, it failed. Yeah, probably 60-40 failed. But they were looking for a lot. I mean, looking for $9 million. Woo. It was actually 14 million
Right.
for operations. 9 million was going to come, but they were going to use 9 million at the first year and they would have 5 million excess capacity. So they didn't have to worry about going back to the voters for that. But it was a big nut.
What about, speaking of capacity, doesn't the town council have the ability to claw back some of the stuff that they gave?
But we can do that. We just go up to we can go up to the full 2.5 plus the excess capacity. So
Yeah, so how much we have in excess capacity?
nothing. We've done it like we tax the next after the next year.
Might be $50,000 and that's
Oh, that's it.
basically rounding when
Right.
you
Right.
adjust.
So for 1 year, maybe it came down 300, but the next year we needed it.
No, okay, never mind.
It'd be great if we were Cambridge and had like
Yeah.
100 million excess
Right.
capacity.
Well, I mean, this is the other thing that bugs the hell out of me. And we got a 4% increase in income down the road. But we're gonna hit with 4.6, 4.6, 4.2. The things lay out right now in our budget. So we're overspending, and look at the income for this year is only going up 2.3. I mean, we're overspending by a lot.
Right. Yeah, go back up on the local receipts. You get the local receipts flatlined year over year, just sliding up a little.
So I bumped this one to 11.5 based on tonight's conversation. And then the consensus around the table is that 26 is going to be roughly the same number because of extra stuff that's coming in 25.
All right, I thought the vehicles and stuff for the new buildings, Steve, what did you say?
Yeah, but
investment income.
there's gonna be a lag. Investment income will be down. So I think flatlining it is not a
Unrealistic.
unrealistic view at all.
And you
Or
think the
unreason-
investment income will
unreasonable.
be down because of the bond rates?
No, I think that we're not gonna have as much money, sitting in the bank getting interest. Because, you move along with the schools, right? And, let's face it, we get the money right from the bond, we park it in somewhere for a while. and then-
Short term, like a
Short-term, and then we-
7-month CD for.
It's not even a
5%.
CD, it's just getting,
It's
good
getting,
rates.
getting decent rates.
I don't think we're gonna have that anymore. Some of the ARPA funds that are not being expended
Yeah,
are also gaining interest. So
right.
All right.
I don't think we're
I
going to
just-
see that.
I just struggle with this exercise on how accurate we are on the expenses. And on the income side, it always comes in better than predicted in these meetings.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so,
I actually went back and looked at my forecast of income versus forecast of local receipts.
Yeah.
And over a 10-year period, my numbers came in really pretty tight, really close.
yep. Right, so I just want the messaging to be as appropriate as possible, and if the sky is falling and you better watch out, we don't want to look like Stoneham, that's one statement, but if it changes and we continually show something at town meeting and then it doesn't come to pass, it just very concerning to me, that messaging, that's all.
Well, one of the things we can do to help that is looking at, like, for example, we talked about the healthcare budget and the return. So we've had, where'd it go here? These figures are really, really good.
Yeah.
And so if we're down to 1 million, I think we need to show evidence as to why it's not going to be, $3 million again. And I think that's incumbent upon us just to gather the data to show why it was great for a couple of years, but it's not going to be great going down the road.
Right.
And
And then again, the 500 going forward for return, I just feel that that's low, but it just,
The budgets are so tight, though. They haven't,
I
grown that
would-
much.
I would agree with that, but they don't end up being tight. There's a reasonable sum that comes back every year, unless something's changing this year that I'm not aware of.
Snow and ice was higher than in past.
So 21 is only 1 million.
If you look at a $850,000 snow and ice budget,
Right.
the past couple of years, not this current year, we're gonna return zero. But in the past 2 or 3 years, we're returning probably half that amount, or $500,000 a year. But, it's just hard to
hmm
predict something.
No, I get it. I just knew that the other numbers weren't all just snow and ice. That's I guess all I'm trying to say. Whether it's
If I just change this to say 2 million, does it really change? Oops, not 20 million.
20 million, we're doing really good.
and
Well,
again,
let's say-
yeah,
Let's
go
say
ahead.
this becomes 1.5 million.
Yeah, and even that might be. Go ahead.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, that's probably aggressive, but yeah, it's a different number. What's it do for
But
us, right?
I mean, we still get, it still goes bad.
Oh yeah,
But that takes into account, nothing
I mean, still,
that's
it's about,
trash fee. Like if you dropped $2.5 million into that equation, it would change
Every year.
every year.
oh yeah.
I mean, if you dropped in a trash fee, to humor me, Dan, and you increased your local receipts by, $2 million every year,
oh,
and that went through.
yeah, I mean, but I'm thinking this is wishful thinking. Yeah, it'd be great, but what's the reality? What's the chances?
Well, at some point, something has to give.
Yeah, it's
It's an override or a trash.
not going to be sustainable.
Override is what the trash fee. That's
That's-
what it's gonna come down to at some point.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think short more money Mayo or the former more money Mayo getting money. I don't know what's going to happen here. It's not
Well,
pretty.
Jim, now we know why he's retiring in July.
Oh yeah, 2 more years, Dan. It's not going to be very pretty.
Yeah,
It's
the
not
rats
pretty.
the rats are getting off the sinking ship.
Not pretty now. Yeah, I think that between that and state aid is an abomination this year. I mean, it's awful. There isn't anybody that's happy anywhere that I've spoken to. What, you had anybody?
So I'm not happy, no.
Saugus is happy.
He's happy.
Well,
I saw us happy.
Yeah,
Plus 3 million.
Chapter 70.
because they get 9.8 million more than we do on a per student basis.
Yep.
They get 5,000 per student. We get half that.
And Desi thinks that's okay,
Yeah, I don't know.
right?
I just don't know where the state has the money anyway.
Yeah.
That's the other thing is like,
Well, that's,
so they spent $450 million, whether you like it or not, on the migrant situation supplemental for this year. I mean, that didn't go to any cities and towns, right?
No, it just poof, it was there. They
Yeah.
found it.
and they're gonna have to deal with the potential Trump cuts too with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then the
But you know, Dan, if you humored me and you increased local receipts by $2 million and you went that forward with the Mayo trash fee. See, I can say this because I'm gonna be gone anyway, right? They don't get throw darts at me, I'm already gone.
What they like though.
Yeah,
Too much, Dan.
that's really good, Dan.
1-0.
I'm not that mean.
paints a totally different picture.
Yeah.
Right.
How does that run you out? Oh, you don't have a deficit? Well, I guess
Well, I'm looking at the deficit. I mean, it's peanuts.
peanuts, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like the
Something that
discussion
could-
that's going to be had with
Yeah.
the future
I think
administration.
it's something that is gonna be had, and the other thing that I'm very fearful of is at some point, some judge is gonna say, because someone's gonna file the complaint, whether it's a townhouse project or a high-rise project that, hey, I pay taxes to the town of Wakefield. Why don't I get my trash picked up like the other people do in single-family homes? And someone is gonna make a decision and say, you know what? They're right. If it's
Yeah.
free for them, why isn't it free for you? That case, then it'll be free for nobody.
Yeah.
So we might want to jump the gun. I throw that out there as food for thought.
I think it's necessary.
So in the spirit of looking for every penny,
Is there a
Uh,
small amount of communities or a lot of communities that do that? Anybody know?
Trash fees?
Yeah.
Melrose does, Stoneham does Reading?
North Reading does.
North Reading does, I don't think Reading does.
No, they don't.
Yep.
There are a number that are doing it and have been doing it for many years. And like, I think Melrose is like $4.50 a household.
Would you get rid of the white goods charge then?
I think that I'd look at those numbers, I would.
Yeah.
I think I'd rolling into everything. I think it'd still be
Yeah.
in the spirit of looking for every penny, and we probably missed the best timing for this, but like 85% of the communities have an appointed collector treasurer position. Many have combined them.
Yeah.
Does that buy us something that we move
well,
to?
that would be a charter change, number one.
So according to, doesn't require a charter change.
I think according to our charter, it
I think
does.
it does.
Our charter, it does.
Yeah.
Our charter calls for it,
Yeah.
so we'd have to change the charter.
Hmm.
It was brought up before.
I recall you bringing it up.
Not me. I didn't bring it up. I recall it was a member of this committee that brought it up and got lambasted for it. God rest his soul. One of my favorite people was Phil McCarty.
Phil?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's say that happens. It's not going to be a huge savings a year, $100,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's yeah.
Something, but
So it's,
Yeah.
So,
From my
Kevin and
standpoint, all
Liz,
elected officials should be promoted.
Kevin and Liz, your sheet shows 8.7, but and Dan always is much higher. Can we just talk about that and reconcile that a little bit again? So 8.7 for local receipts, your numbers, Dan had, 2 million less or whatever that was.
Right?
Yeah,
So the difference, Jim, what ends up happening is,
And I may
Right.
just preface this and say, Kevin, I ask every year, but go ahead.
yeah, so that $2 million, what ends up happening is DOR wants us to be conservative when we do our tax recap. So we use a smaller amount for our estimated receipts. We always go over, and the overage is what builds our free cash.
Right.
So, we could go a lot higher, closer to Dan's number, but when they certify our free cash would be a lot smaller by that same amount. So
Right.
it
washes out.
washes out.
Well, except you still owe me about 20 dinners.
That is true.
Depending on how long I stay, I might get them back.
Well, there's actually written guidance by DOR.
Right.
Which tells us that you have to, have conservative.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So if we were, Jim, to put our tax recap and say, all right, we're gonna jump our local receipts to 11.5 from the 8,750 or from whatever we had last year,
Right.
they think we're crazy.
You have explaining to
You have
do.
explaining to do, yeah.
They will hold you up.
Right, but we've been ratcheting it up year by year, more than, we used to. But the same
Reluctantly
token-
so, yes.
Yeah,
That's not unique to here, Jim.
All right, so Dan, you got 11.5 for 25 and 11.5 for 26. And is the 11.5 in 25 a pretty solid number, do we think?
I'm looking at Kevin and Liz and they're saying yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
Not 400 more.
No.
Then you go to 26 and we have it flat. I just don't see it being flat. That's,
Investment income is gonna go down.
Yeah, investment income's going down
yeah.
because we have big cash balances because of the high school,
And we're spending it.
but it's going away.
It's,
Right, aren't you
gonna be borrowing
bonding the
another 100
last large
billion
bond?
In July.
Sorry,
What's that, Jim?
the last bond you're gonna be receiving soon, correct, or already? I'm sorry, just,
The next bond, probably July.
yeah, I mean,
how's it
I think we will, it is possible for
how's it gonna get
26.
expended? The bond?
But I think the speed with which the money is being spent is increasing.
No, I would expect it to accelerate. I agree.
Yeah. Well, from you know better than I do. Yeah.
But just, okay, I'll buy Dan his steak and we can talk about it.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be 11.7.
What, for 26?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm just saying.
I think it's gonna be 11.9, but anyway, okay.
All right. I want to get on in the steak thing, by the way. I still eat steak after I'm gone, so give me a call.
Yeah, yep. So Dan, your new number for deficit is 1.6, as I'm staring at it, right?
Yeah, 1657.
Okay. And then the and then the 10% falls.
Let's see. So free cash starts falling. Well, it's basically flat between 25 and 26. And then it starts going down, goes negative in 31.
Hmm.
And our reserve at the end of 26 looks like 10.9. And then it drops below 10% in 27.
Yep.
Yeah, what's your shortfall for 26?
1.657,
Oh, we had it up over 2 million. What did we do?
right there. It was,
Cause we just increased.
but we increased the local receipts. And we changed the Volk.
Right.
by
But it doesn't have the
250,000.
trash, it doesn't have additional trash in there, right?
No.
There's not something else.
No, I took that out.
No, and it doesn't, and it keeps capital as to where it is.
And we left capital 2.1 million.
Which you could do in the fall too. You could
Yeah,
push
we
the
could-
whole thing to the fall.
Yeah, we could push capital in the fall. Maybe some things we want to do in the summer and
No, I think there are some things you need to do in the summer, and I think there's some things that,
that can be at the spring.
And what are the mechanics to that?
An amendment to the capital, article, motion at town meeting floor.
Yeah.
We
And
would
then it's up-
recommend, yeah, I
Yep.
mean, if you get up and say the finance committee recommends, a different number, and here's why. And then you go on to say, we want to take up what we're deferring in the fall if we have the money.
No, understood. And then the capital planning committee and the executive team decide what to work on, what to spend money on first, type of thing?
I mean, you could line item out, or like, I know the finance committee did with the schools years ago, cut 500,000 and said, you guys figure it out. in your
Right, we
budget."
could do
You
that.
could do that. I mean, I certainly would think we'd want to do, certain things quickly, like the library, AC, chiller, and
That has to be done.
That has to be done, having been in there and in the heat. Some other things could, be delayed.
Yeah, I just completely get it now and understand, and I think I did before. I struggle with being within our budget reserve number and cutting anything. And as soon as I say that, I would rather have our total percent of reserves, a lot higher than that. But it's
Yeah.
the messaging to me.
I think people are nervous and understand it's a tough time right now.
Okay.
I mean, let's say that federal grants for the school department of $1 million get pulled October.
Or the whole thing, 1.9 million.
$1.9 million get pulled, halfway through the year. I think you'd want to have that capital in your back pocket.
It could happen next week.
Could happen, yeah, could happen. On town meeting floor, we could be getting texts,
Yeah.
Right. And it could not happen at all, right?
And it could not happen at all.
Let me check Truth Social. and
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look at what happened in the market today versus,
Yeah.
it's like, he says one thing and next thing the market goes up 12%. It's like, the hell?
I had missed everything. I just checked the market, like I said, that just happened. And then it closed up 3,000 points.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well,
I-
he said he's going to delay everything 90 days except China.
75 countries want to come in and make a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed everything too, because I was gonna buy some stock this morning and I didn't do it, so there you
Yeah,
go.
you shouldn't blink, baby. You must not be on the app that can buy stocks, everybody.
You
Too
blink and it's
goddamn
up
busy.
10%. And just watch, I mean, tomorrow go down 10%. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Check the futures tonight.
All right, so I guess, what's the consensus from this board, this group then, as far as capital?
I think we gotta look at deferred some of the stuff. And we might even have to be forced to defer OPEB contribution, which I hate to say, because we already cut it 500,000.
Well, we just won't deposit it.
We
Right.
sit on it.
Sit on it until after the November town meeting. You might have to make it 200,000 for the year. Who knows?
Yeah,
Does that decision impact the financing for the schools?
Not OPEB.
No,
It would still be in the,
It's still
the budget.
still in the budget.
still in the
so we're
budget,
good. Yeah.
Separate item.
so when we go to meet.
I mean,
next
I will
week-
tell you that bond counsel has told me that things are changing every day. That in this environment, a drop from AAA to AAA plus, which I would hate, AAA to AA plus, which I would hate to have happen. You're looking at a difference in rate in this market telling me between 3 and 12 basis points. I don't know what that how accurate that
Really,
is, but
that's better news. 'Cause
it's not that bad.
It's 25.
Yeah.
About a month ago, so,
Yeah,
but that's, figure that out in terms of the high school.
Yeah.
Borrowing.
276 million, that's still.
Yeah, but that would be, that's the last 100 that's left.
Yeah,
You've already borrowed the other, that's not gonna change.
yeah, well, I'm thinking about Greenwood or the next.
Oh, yeah, then there's always the next one down there.
Yeah, fire trucks are now like 1.6 million.
Yeah,
Oh,
1,300,000, yeah.
So you're talking extra 25 to 30,000
Oh, I know.
dollars in interest charges,
I know. It's not ideal.
maybe more than that. Even at 5 bips, it's gonna be a big number. So at the moment, I think the spreadsheet's the best we got. Until tomorrow, we get the vote number.
But you already have it down by 250, right?
Right.
Yeah, let's hope it does. Let's hope I was low, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, now we're just working around the edges. This is,
Isn't it interesting that this, and I understand why, but yeah, 5% is plenty for you guys because you can just charge more next year and everyone has to pay you anyway. Or they're gonna pull it off the cherry sheet, so I guess there's no reason for you to have the reserve.
Thought it was interesting timing though,
Yeah,
that, they wait right up until the end to
yeah.
have that certified.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Dan, what did you have for free cash used, the last fiscal year? I'm sorry. But when you're ready.
for 25 or 24?
Well, 25, I guess, isn't closed yet, right?
Right, yeah, it's not closed, but we're ballparking 10.5 on this.
He said used.
Use the five,
We didn't use, we increased.
Oh, yeah, we use 5.2, between the fall of 4.4 million. And then this spring, we're using 775. So now because I made those other changes, we're actually looking at 10.5 for free cash at the end of this year.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
what
that 5 million is a big number. I mean, looking across historically, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Well, included in that is the Galvin roof, which we may get some money back, right?
That's right, yeah. When would that come back in?
That will not come back in, well, assuming that it's still in,
Cut out
it's
the-
not cut out of the budget. That will not, we can't even apply for it until it's up and running,
Oh, that's right. you
which
told us.
won't be until next fiscal year. I mean, maybe it'll be June, but let's call it comes in next fiscal year, but
Yeah.
I think it's $260,000, which would be great.
Yeah.
Or 290 or whatever it is, but it's not gonna move, it's not gonna change things, but it'd be nice to have that come in. This includes overage on the fire department. We talked about that when their budget came in. Indemnification for injuries, which makes sense because we had overage in the fire department because they were out hurt. So that includes that in the spring. Anything else? Oh, no, that's it, right? Just those two? Supplementals?
Supplemental,
Yeah.
that's all.
I mean, to me, that one of the big questions is, my assumptions regarding going forward. And for example, I've got for just, general government, it's got straight 4%. Fire and police, 5 for a couple of years for this year, then actually this year I'm putting real numbers, so you gotta look for 27 and beyond. 4% across. C at 4. Library, I've got 3. That's probably too low.
Yeah.
Schools, this is the big nut. I actually want them to get that back, get down to 4%, but based on the history, I don't think that's going to happen. I suspect we're going to be using 5% into the future.
Five,
Yeah, I
five and a
think so.
half for the next few, right?
Yeah, I got 5 for 27.
You get a 4% COLA this year compounded, right? And you just,
Yeah. So if I do that to schools, you can imagine what
yeah,
that'll do to us.
yeah, no, I agree. And
And I've only got 3% for articles, other vendor, elections, that's small potatoes.
But yeah, for health insurance.
Health insurance, I've got,
7.
We have that going forward.
I got 7 for 27, just because of if GIC is going up 13 this year,
Yeah.
then it comes down to closer to inflation.
Well, I think the other things that's gonna have to happen in 27. 27,
And
28.
this is too low. Capital at 3? Where it should be, I should say this is too low.
Yeah. Um,
And then, we wiped out, oh, that's our change. I didn't mention that one. Kevin took away 200,000 for stabilization. We got a 0 now.
You have a lot of power. Huh?
What happened?
So that's his goose egg now. I'm putting it back, but
Right. And the Voc is good. You got 15, and then the big drop off.
yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah, and that 15 might be a little bit less for that year.
Well, no, I got real numbers for 26.
Yeah.
Well, almost real
Almost.
numbers.
Yeah.
But now, so the key is, is the 4%. Is that the right number?
Yeah.
State and county costs, 3%. That's probably too, I don't know if that's any good. IT at 4, that's probably okay. New growth, I have that going at 4% after 26.
Yeah.
State receipts, this might be optimistic, 4%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is.
Local receipts is 4, that's probably okay. That no longer applies. Light department, we know that's 1.5. It's a joke. In exclusion, I'm not sure this is being used.
You can't squeeze more pilot out of the MWGLD, right?
They have an agreement for how many years?
27, so last.
27 years?
No,
No, fiscal year 27.
27 is the last year.
last year of I think a 5-year,
Yeah.
5-year agreement.
So can
Is it escalating?
can we get that up to a 3% increase?
It's nothing.
Yeah.
That would be like getting money from the state.
I'm
Yeah.
not saying anything.
So if I go back to this,
Steve, go ahead, Dan, finish what you're doing first.
yeah, it's still, I mean, we go negative free cash in 30
Quickly.
very quickly. And our reserves go down to 1.5. And at 27, we're down to 9,174,15.
Mhm.
Something's got to change.
Yeah, we need the state government to make use of the quote unquote millionaires tax and send it back to the cities and towns. I get very frustrated with that. In the Western Mass is starting to wig out, Steve. The MBTA is getting an overhaul, and
Yeah.
it's like inefficiency gets repaid with more money.
Yeah.
Sorry for my cynical approach, but it's painful. So I don't know if the House will be able to claw back any of that, but
So in my request for earmarks from the state delegation, I asked for $500,000 in extra Chapter 70 funds. I thought it was being very nice.
Yeah.
Only $500,000. So far, that has been met with crickets. Well, Donald called me.
Did he
What can I say
agree?
it's for? What can I say it's for? So it's for we're getting. It's for Chapter 70.
It's getting screwed.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I don't say that.
all right. How long can we run the OPEB at $500,000, Dan or Steve or others?
Forever. I mean, there's no schedule from the state.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
What did the,
$500,000, we could run it forever.
what did the market do to it?
The $500,000.
To the,
Yeah,
Okay.
investment.
Oh, well, it went back up today, so it's
I
like.
went up 12% today. Who knows? We have no clue.
Yeah. The state is supposedly going to be studying OPEB to come up with some sort of a schedule like they have for retirement. But I think that's gonna be a long study because how much does the state have in OPEB, Dan?
Well, at least 90 million, billion.
That's a liability. How much do they have against it?
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing.
They had some,
Create a
they had
create a
some
council
tobacco
and
money.
a commission to study it.
They had a couple $1 million going on tobacco money. But their obligation is over 90 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're not going to impose anything on the cities and towns until they get their own house in order for a schedule. That ain't going to happen,
Yeah, like never. Anyway.
right?
All right, so we're gonna come out 10-9 and drop to 9-1 the next 2 years potentially, Dan, is what we see right in front of you. Yep.
Yeah. For 25, we should finish 25 and 11.6
Yep,
thereabouts. We'll see.
right.
And then we start diving.
Yep. Just every year we do this exercise, those future years always seem to get better, and that could be rose-colored glasses, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, and the reason for some of that is we make changes. For example, OPEB used to be $1.6 million.
No, I
Yeah.
I know, it should be $1.4 million, exactly.
Yeah,
And then-
so we make adjustments based on the money we have.
Right. For the lack of income, or the
Right.
excess spending, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've also been blessed the last few years. You think about, the power line off of Montrose, you see the head of the lake, you see all this,
New growth has been
the
good.
GIC change, right? We got off of Maya, and on the GIC, we saved over 2 million there. So we've had a great run, but how can we assume it's going to continue?
Right.
So the new growth, how far does the assessor project out? Is it just going year by year?
We asked him to look at the next 3 years on this one.
I have my assessor looking, going, how 5 years, even, of course, they struggle with that, but
Yeah.
best you can, work with the development.
Yeah, I got basically $1.5 million.
I mean, I think that those outlying years are gonna be tough, but who knows? I mean, every time we think things have built up and something else comes in,
Well,
right?
I remember the days, looking all the way back to, 20 years ago when I first put this together. I figured 500,000 was the max. Then I said, well, maybe 750 was a long-term max. But now we're tearing stuff down and building up huge. So
It would have been nice if that power line that came in 24 came in 22. That would have been nice because then we would have had that for the other years, But that's 2020.
Yep.
yeah, that's right. I had two power things. You get the one over Montrose and the thing that was over Winchester.
It was all laid.
But the utility finally got their act together, Steve, right? It's in.
They did, yeah. I mean, it was slow going and
How much should we pull in from that? What was the final number?
well, I think that 2.4 was a lot of them.
Oh, 2,481.
Yeah.
How much does the health insurance shift during open enrollment? Is probably, you have the opt-out.
We have the opt-outs. We've also moved people over the years to what was the lowest cost
Yeah.
account, and then that was the one that went up 14%.
Yeah, that's a popular one, yeah. I was hoping we'd see some movements during this open enrollment to shift to the lowest. plan.
I mean, they've done a good job and they continue to do a good job and, but it's not gonna move the needle. Say 250. I think the only thing's gonna change it there in 27, we renegotiate back with the Public Employee Committee and that 80-75 might have to change.
What are you doing, 80? What are you, 75? Or maybe
75 on some of the HMOs, 80 on others.
Yeah,
So, I mean, that may have to change
yep.
because of reality.
That'll be controversial, but
Yeah.
that's reality,
Yeah,
That'll layoffs down the line.
a few years ago, a lot of communities were changing their co-shares.
Yeah.
They were knocking from 80 down to 70, from 70 to 60. I haven't seen much
Yeah.
over the last 4 or 5 years of that kind of change, but
We were at 90 when I started.
Yeah.
Remember what it was?
We were at 99.1 at one time. You remember that, you know?
Yep.
How many years were you at Somerville?
10.
10 years?
A long time.
Long time, wow.
Started young and, you know,
Mhm.
gone to bigger and better things, you know?
So again, I just asked the question, are we gonna go to the meeting next week and talk to the bigger, group about splitting the capital?
I think we gotta bring it up.
Yep.
Is town council, they're hearing that Monday night.
They rang that Monday night as well.
Does it come up with them or they just, do they pass a number or?
I think that they like all, I don't know, I'll. It's in my memo to them, but you've read it.
I mean, does town council know we're running a deficit of somewhere around 1.7 to 2 million, depending upon numbers?
I think they've heard that, yeah.
They've heard that? The schools are gonna, go before them next week?
Yeah, but that's just,
I know, that's just, they just listen, that's, I know, they don't really have a vote. So who else, or what other budgets are they seeing Monday? Medicare?
Medicare and town council and
Bulk?
and the vote, yeah.
Full.
Those four.
Yeah. As far as town council is concerned, that is a big increase. But there were things that weren't funded before that will be funded now. So it's not a huge dollar amount, it's a big percentage amount.
Looks bad.
Yeah.
All right. Have we
I'm
beat
good,
this
I
horse to death? 6:10. I don't think there's any more committee comments. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, thank you, Jim.
Buddy.
Bye, Jim.
Thanks, folks. Dan, you'll send this out to us?
Yeah, I'll send you the latest and greatest version.
Sounds good. Thank you all.